right, fans, John Franklin here for Combat Press outside the World Series of Fighting 30 weigh-ins. They just wrapped up. Everybody's on weight. I'm here with the president, Ray Sefo. Ray, let's talk about this card. I want to start right at the top. David Branch versus Clifford Starks. As I assessed David Branch, and I was getting a preview ready for this fight, and I look at him, I mean, he's really sort of culminating now, isn't he? Everything is what I said was the above the shoulders is kind of meeting the below the shoulders. He may be one of the best fighters in the world. Let's talk about David Branch for a second.
No, I would have to agree. David Branch, I think he's just, he said in an interview yesterday, he's kind of like a late bloomer, if you will, and he feels like right now is his time, and right now he just feels like everything connects. And I know that feeling because there was a period in my time, although I had, won 4, 5, 6 world titles at that point, there was a certain point where everything just connected. So I know exactly what he's saying. Yeah, without a doubt, he's one of the best in the world. I mean, he's a 2-time world champion. Starks is definitely a tough opponent. I mean, let's not forget that, he's also a very good wrestler, good grappler, likes to bang as well. So, you got two guys who really it comes down to, one, David defending his belt, and Starks getting it off him. You know what I mean? So I think, I think it's an interesting fight. To me, right now, it's still a 50-50 fight.
I think it's an interesting fight as well. And just to touch back on what you talked about in your own career, what is it when everything starts to click? Is it that the opponent gets slower, you get faster? What is that when you have that moment? Can you describe it? Is it just like the zone?
I think it's a mixture of everything, from your confidence in who you are, and your confidence in your ability, and your confidence in what you do. And your confidence in, doesn't matter who it is, you're just gonna go out there and bang it out. You know what I mean? Like, and everything just seems, again, I think we've all seen, the first time I seen Dave, I see a lot of, I see this guy with so much potential. And then he becomes world champion, and then he continues to defend the title, and then he beats some of the big names, and then you go, oh, that's the guy that, we saw in his first fight. And so I think for him, that moment is now. And his confidence, again, like I said earlier, ability, his confidence in what he can do, his confidence in it doesn't matter who it is he faces, he's going to come out on top. That's the kind of mentality. So, I think everything clicks for him right now.
I agree. We'll move on to the co-main event. A lot of events sort of had to come together for us to get this fight. Obviously, the issues with Husam Al-Paharas, the issues with Jake Shields. But we have a hell of a fight, which is sort of the byproduct of that. I wrote a piece that called everything that happened sort of a blessing in disguise, because we get a great fight out of it.
Right.
So we have Jon Fitch, we have Joao Zeffirino. Obviously, we know what Fitch is looking to do, and to an extent, we know what Zeffirino's looking to do.
Right.
I said in my preview that, Zeffirino may have, if you start to break down all the disciplines, he may be better in more than Fitch, but Fitch is a world-class guy, so this is a hell of a fight too, no?
Absolutely. Listen, Jon Fitch is, again, he's a legend in the game. Everybody knows he is a veteran in the game. We all know what Jon Fitch brings to the game. Jon has been with the best of the best in the world. You know what I mean? And so, again, it's one of these things where, like when he fought Paharas, I was really surprised how Paharas was able to submit him so early, because I know how much of a grinder he is. I know how much of a tough guy to put away. But yet, Paharas was able to do it, a lot easier than I expected. In saying that, I think Jon had gone back, and because Jon's next few fights was unbelievable. He come out, and because again, he's working with one kick as well. He comes out and he's striking. His jab is consistent. He's putting his striking and his ground game together. So we know the type of fighter Jon is and what he's going to bring to the table. It's always going to be a fight. It's always going to be a tough fight. Zeffirino, on the other hand, we saw him in the one-man tournament, the one-night tournament, and that 8-man one-night tournament, nothing prepares you better for a title fight than that kind of fight. You know what I mean? And so, and the fact that he's a world jiu-jitsu champion. So again, that's where I think that the battle would be for both guys. One, can Sefo take him to that point where he's able to submit him? And two, can Jon Fitch defend the submission? So that's the biggest question. So again, another fight for me. It's exciting to sit there and watch because it's another 50-50 fight.
And you can make a case, and this is all due respect to Brian Foster, you can make a case that Zeferino was the most impressive guy that night. Moving on to another World Jiu-Jitsu champion in Vinny Magalhaes, he's got Jake Hewen. People are saying a few things about this fight. One, that this fight sort of grew for Vinny to get the title shot, and two, that this could be a title shot eliminator. So I'll ask you the second question first. Is this a title shot eliminator? Is the winner of this face David Branch down the road?
Possible. Very possible. Now, was it set up for? Listen, these two guys have been calling each other out. I didn't even have to make that match. They made that match for themselves. So, for people to say, well, no, this was, catered for Vinny, absolutely not. Jake, I think, was the one that made the most noise in terms of wanting that fight. So here we are. It's actually happening. And again, I didn't have to make that matchup. They matched themselves, and here we are. And look forward to an exciting fight.
And yeah, and listen, people said the same thing about the Timur Valiev fight, and we saw how that went down. So I mean, right. It's not like these things are guaranteed. That's why they fight them. Right. I'll get you out of here with two more guys. So let's talk about Abbas Azatar. What did you see in him prior to bringing in? Because I watched a little film on him, and I was like, it's not all there. But you see something with the guy. You got a couple of guys, Jaleel Willis, Bryce Mitchell, where you watch these guys fight and you're like, yeah, it's not all there. Right. But you see something in him. What'd you see in Abu?
That's, and that's that question itself answers itself, because that's where you grow these young talents, because I see a lot of potential in Abu. He's a guy who, number one, comes to fight. Number two, likes to stand. Number three, he's also very good on the ground. So, and when you look at that kind of potential, then you bring him on, and you see what he can really do on a bigger stage. And so I think this is his biggest challenge. Danny, on the other hand, is a guy that's been with WSOF Fighting, and Danny always comes to fight. He's always fit, and he always steps up. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, Danny's the kind of guy to let you know what you have in a fighter too. If you put him in there with Danny, you'll know what you have at the end of the fight.
Right, exactly.
So last fight I want to talk about is Nurmagomedov against Frinsu. This fight is obviously guys with very different styles, but this could be the fight of the night.
Very possible, very possible. I mean, Matthew is a tough kid from down under, who has a good takedown defense, very good on his feet. He's a former kickboxer. So then you look across the cage, you got a guy who is very good on the ground, very strong in the clinch, and also not afraid to strike, and so it makes it for an interesting fight.
Makes a fantastic fight. It's a great night of cards. We're back here in Vegas. Right. I put in my preview as well. This card makes it the Hard Rock as the #1 visited venue for the World Series of Fighting with this fight. So it's exciting. Thanks again for the time, Ray. Promotion's looking great as always, and I'll see you tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Thank you.